If you're an entry-level tech professional thinking of going into freelancing and you're wondering if it's the best decision for you at this stage of your career, or if you're way more experienced and you're thinking of quitting your 9 to 5 to go into freelance for the promise of freedom and control over your time, this video is for you. So I'm going to try my best to not be subjective, but I'm going to share my experience freelancing and the reason why I quit freelancing to go back into a steady 9 to 5. So before I get into it, the main point that I want you to keep at the back of your mind as I expound throughout this video is that freelancing is a business. And so unless you're ready to build a business, to learn how to build a business, to learn how to grow a business, and to learn how to manage a business, while you're still building your core competence in the main skill that you're offering to clients and customers in the marketplace, you shouldn't consider freelancing. So time gain control illusion. I've seen a number of YouTube videos, and this is like the general sentiment of people when they quit their 9 to 5 to go into freelance, which is the fact that they are now going to have control of their time. And there is good merit to that, because when you leave your 9 to 5, you're getting into a world where you have control over your time. You're responsible for your time. You can manage your time, and you can delegate your time to the tasks that you want to spend time on. And you can arrange your day. You can wake up in the morning and work, spend the afternoon go golfing, and spend the afternoon go playing tennis, go out for lunch with your friends, go chill, then come back at night and work. However, strange thing, that reality only exists for very experienced freelancers who have enough portfolios, who have enough savings, and who have the kind of clients that can pay them the highest value for their time. For most people starting their freelance career, it is trading in 9 to 5 for a 247. And I really want people to have this perspective, because more often than not, in our world, we have people doing snake oil sales, where people sell the utopia of a reality and don't give people the real experience that they're going to have. Now, for most 9 to 5s, you can close at 5. And because you can close at 5, you can go home and forget about the business. You can go home and just leave the experience of work at the business, depending on how much personal discipline you have, and go to your family, go to your friends, and have a good night, and go the next day for your 9 to 5. Your responsibilities and your obligations to the company, depending again on the kind of business that you're in or your role and the level you're at the organization, starts at 9 and ends by 5. But when you go into freelancing, you're trading a 9 to 5 for a 247. Now you're responsible for a business, and that business is you. You're responsible for finding clients, you're responsible for managing your time. And for a number of people just starting their career, going into freelancing and having the responsibility of managing your time 247 is a big responsibility that is essentially setting them up for failure long term. So freelancing is at least building 2 high-level skills simultaneously. Freelancing is essentially selling your skills to clients. Now, if that doesn't scare you, it means you're either a sales expert or you don't have the faintest clue to how complex selling is. And really, selling is complex. And that was one of the biggest problems I had when I was freelancing, because it was not just me building my competence as a software engineer. I also had to read books on sales, how to read about building sales pipelines, and how to read about starting from leads to prospects and all the complexities of building a sales pipeline, while at the same time building my skills as a software engineer, while at the same time reading about Docker, while at the same time reading about algorithms and data structures, while at the same time reading about Linux. Man, it was just a lot, right? Learning how to selling, and also at the same time building my competence as a software engineer. Now, if you're a salesperson or you're in marketing, where your primary skill set is around selling, then it might be easier for you to do that, because what you're offering to businesses, what you're offering to clients, is selling. And that's your primary skill set. And so as you're learning how to sell that primary skill set to clients, you're also still simultaneously developing the primary skill set. However, if you're outside the sales space, you're a product designer, you're a software engineer, you're a product manager, you need to consider the fact that in freelancing, you're building 2 high-level skills simultaneously. You're learning how to sell and you're selling, and you're improving your competence, and you're also delivering with your competence. Consider this properly before you go into freelance. So the rules of building a business still applies to freelancing. And I'm going to break this down high level to just 2 concepts, which is financial capital and social capital. Financial capital is how much money you have to invest in your business. Social capital is how much repute or network effect you have that you can leverage to expand your business or even to raise money required for your financial capital. Now, depending on how much experience you have, if you're at the 5-year, 7-year, 10 years benchmark in your career, and you spend most of your career building in public, going to conferences, writing articles, you might have a stronger social capital for you to easily migrate into freelancing. not easily, but it might be easier for you to migrate into freelancing, because now you have a repute and you have people online on social media platform who can respect your competence, and you've built a lot of projects, you've spoken at a lot of conferences, and so it's easier for clients to be able to have some form of external or social validation or index of your experience. And you can also have more financial capital. If you've been prudent with your expenses, you've been prudent with your income, then you have much more money, and so you can stay in the market. You can even negotiate longer with clients. You can reject certain kind of deals. You have way more options in the industry as a freelancer. However, if you're just at the early stage of your career, then you don't have either the financial capital or you don't have the social capital that you can leverage in. Now, that can also be a good thing in some way. When I started freelancing, I was still very early stage. And because I was early stage, it meant that I had some clients that the more experienced guys would reject, which means that I had a good number of clients available to me. I had people who were just trying to build their website for their small business who would be willing to pay me like some 10k naira, 20k naira and stuff like that. I had churches, I had people who were just starting like their own music studio who needed websites and who needed somebody to update their WordPress website, or who just needed somebody to just jump on a React project and just do stuff for them. Now, in this sense, it can be a good thing or a bad thing, but the one thing I want to just consider is how much financial or social capital do you have right now? How much options do you have? How much leverage do you have in the market? Are you in a place where you don't have any financial or social capital, but you can accept the lower paying jobs? You can still be in that place, build your experience, build your competence, and then gradually build the financial and social capital you need. If you are not in that place, if you don't have the financial or social capital required to build a business, then you probably should not consider freelancing right now. You should probably consider getting a 9-to-5, where you have the opportunity to build financial capital and social capital, and then long term think about going into freelancing, going into contracting for the freedom that you're looking for. So I think one of the things I really loved about freelancing was the ability to choose the kind of projects I got to work on with the kind of clients I wanted to work with based on my interest. And this is like maybe one of the major benefits of freelancing, depending on what stage you're at in your freelancing journey. You can, if you're interested in XYZ, you can look for clients within that industry that would give you the kind of projects you want to be able to gain the kind of skill set or just explore within that industry. Now, most times you don't have this as a 9-to-5. You can do this by job hopping, but it's a much more longer process, because when you job hop to a new company, it's a much more longer commitment. So you need to scrutinize, or you need to do your research very well for the next job, because you know you're making a 1 year, 2 year commitment to the new job. But in freelancing, you can get like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 month contracts. And let's say, for instance, you're interested in product management in fintech space, you can look for a startup that just needs a product manager at the early stage for like 5 months, 6 months, and you can join them for like 6 month contract. You can do the same thing within the health tech space, and so you have that level of flexibility. I'm going to approach money from 2 perspectives: stability and skill. So stability in terms of consistent, steady income, and scale in terms of growth. Now, as a freelancer, you have more tendency to scale, depending on how much work you do, depending on how much you invest, depending on how you improve your processes in terms of marketing and selling. And you can just even get one client that takes your compensation 10x, 20x within a year. If you're a software engineer, you can get a client who needs you to solve a critical problem for them, and they can pay you $10K, $20K, depending on how much you need. If you're a salesperson, you can get a client who tells you to sell a product for them, and the client gives you a good commission on the product. And depending on the kind of product it says, 10% commission on the product can be a game changer for you, and it can change your income within 6 months, within a year. But it also means that if you don't put the same effort, if you don't find the same high paying or high value clients, your compensation can also drop the same. So in freelancing, you have the opportunity of scale. You can scale up drastically, but you can also scale down drastically. But as a 9-to-5, you have more stability, you have more steadiness in your income, because most times, except you're job hopping, growth in income can be just 5%, 10% increments year on year. And so this is something to consider in the freelance versus 9-to-5 conversation. If you're in a place where stability in income is more important to you right now because you need to build that balance, because you need it right now in your life, then you probably want to stay with a 9-to-5. But if you're in a place where you've gathered some form of experience, you have some form of buffer in terms of savings, and you want to go all in freelancing, you want to see how much you can earn for the value for your skill, then freelancing would most likely give you the opportunity to scale your compensation more than a 9-to-5 would give you. But this is the thing to consider in terms of long term. Like I said earlier on, freelancing is essentially building a business, and that business is yourself. And so as a 9-to-5er, depending on your role and the industry you're working in, 10-15 years, you can be a VP at the company earning $500K or $1 million per year. And as a freelancer, unless you morph into an agency where you're now managing other freelancers, or where you're now managing people under you, and where you're now building it as a business, you might not have the opportunity to earn that much income long term. Alright, so I need to say this. There is this general sentiment for entrepreneurship versus being a 9-to-5er. And the idea is that people feel that salary is the bribe the organization is paying you for you to abandon your dream. Now, this could be the reality for certain people. There are people who really should be innovating, who should be building businesses because they have the affinity for it. For instance, if we don't have someone like Elon Musk doing Tesla and stuff, that could have been a massive disadvantage to the world. You can have your opinions about Elon Musk. I'm just talking about Tesla, SpaceX, and I'm just focusing on that. And there are people who are innovators, people who have built businesses that if they've not taken that leap of faith, or if they've not just been crazily ambitious to start those businesses and to go the part of entrepreneurship, we might not have the level of innovation or the kind of products that we have right now in our world in terms of technology and stuff. And so if you're that kind of person, then maybe it makes sense that the salary is the bribe that you're getting paid for you to abandon your dream. But this is most likely not the reality for the vast majority of people in the world. And so if you're a 9-to-5er, or if you're a person who is making that decision between entrepreneurship or working at a company, I need you to not allow the bias towards entrepreneurship to cloud your decision. I want you to not allow survivorship bias, the idea that people are making it as entrepreneurs, the idea that people who are the richest in the world are entrepreneurs, and so because of that, I have to be an entrepreneur. There are a lot of rich people in the world right now who joined their organizations, who are even leading some of these organizations, and they joined as employees, and they have gotten to a point where they're rich and where they're impactful. There are scientists, there are doctors all over the world who are entrepreneurs who are impacting our world positively, and who we would have a tremendously worse quality of life if these people decided to be entrepreneurs and did not pursue the current career paths that you're pursuing. So please, when you're making this decision, ensure that you're not making it based on bias. And like I said when I started making this video, I'm a 9-to-5er, and so I tried my best to be as objective as possible to ensure that my bias against freelance did not show. If it did, sorry, don't be angry with me, but I tried my best. My point essentially in this video is to show people the other aspects of freelancing that most people who move into freelancing don't talk about. Most people go into freelancing, try to paint this utopia like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's not necessarily that. It can be that, but you need to ensure that you're approaching this decision with the fact. And so I tried my best to present the other side of the story to ensure that people can see the audience perspective, why they're making this decision. So all the best as you make this decision. All the best with your career. My media everybody, and I help people build thriving tech careers. See you next time. Bye.